Who exactly is Star Citizen made for? Over the years, I've asked many people what games they've come from as a main game before Star Citizen. The answers are all over the place. There's no specific title, genre, or era of games that have stood out as a clear market being pulled from. Mass Effect, KOTOR, Star Wars Galaxies, Elite Dangerous, Wing Commander, Arma, EVE, Guild Wars, Command and Conquer, and on and on and on. Seriously, I pulled my Discord server. We're from all over the place. So what brings all these people together? What is the connective tissue that all these games seem to have in common? Scale. Not just in size, but in possibility. And yes, there's a lot of sci-fi in there, but stick with me. All of these people coming from these other games are imagining themselves doing the same things from those games, just in a massive, high-fidelity sci-fi setting without a single loading screen. That's what Star Citizen aims to promise for a lot of gameplay. Or they can do more, owning their own hangars, running their own spaceships, or exploring the depths of distant planets. The idea behind Star Citizen is based largely around the idea of going wherever and doing whatever you can in a multi-planetary space-based sci-fi environment. If that interests you, you'll likely find a place in Star Citizen doing something you enjoy. Eventually. And you may be surprised just how little spaceship flying that takes. But this is still a game in development, and there's a long way to go before the vision reaches reality. So in this video, I'm going to show you all of the possible major roles you can take in Star Citizen as of this writing, and how they're going to change over the next year in 2024. And today, maybe you'll find the reason why you would like to give Star Citizen a try. This is my first of order exclusive video of 2024, released in January. If you'd like to see these as soon as they're complete, consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon. And for those who have, thank you for supporting my Tomato Talks. The Bounty Hunter, at least right now, is a ship combat role. The current game loop requires you to take a mission, go to a destination, and murder an individual who you assume did something wrong. This was the earliest game loop in the game, and continues to be one of the easiest to jump into, for obvious reasons. It actually supports a wide range of game mechanics though. Reputation is closely linked to allow for progression with whichever faction you choose to work for. Destroyed ships can be boarded and searched for valuable cargo, which can increase your payouts by hundreds of thousands of credits in a single find sometimes. Ship combat AI is more varied and responsive than FPS AI due to further development, providing a better experience and more varied battles. And you can take a range of FPS and ship-based bounties depending on your preferences and which locations you find yourself in. In the future though, this profession will require much more time, calling for the use of restraints on targets when you find them, and then returning them all the way back in jail somewhere in one of the local cities. This will vastly change the game loop, introducing active tracking of targets using virtual AI, restraints, non-lethal weapons, special body pods, personal identification scanning, security systems, and more. This will be a massive update to Bounty Hunter gameplay that is meant to rely heavily on Tony Z's virtual AI project and has been delayed over the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to whatever updates we might get on this in 2024. The Trooper is your typical FPS player. At least that's what we call him in my own org. This player has a lot of options in Star Citizen, but they generally revolve around going to a location for some objective and using first-person shooting and interaction to succeed. Right now, that's mainly bunkers, 890 jump missions, Korea, Jumptown, and derelict sites. But this is meant to expand to space stations, colonial outposts, distribution centers, and more. These players don't need to fly ships, as they are focused on carrying all the gadgets and tools needed to overcome an opposing force, from grenades to door breaching tools. These players will be seeing a host of improvements to their experience soon as well. UI updates, dynamic crosshair support, true scope rendering, and a lot more. The FPS experience leans into sim territory with things like manual ammo management and an in-depth damage and injury system, but it also includes some more arcadey aspects like sliding. It's a wide mix of FPS game mechanics that looks to be quite different by year's end. And I think it's going to be a pretty satisfying experience for any sci-fi leaning player who likes FPS gameplay. With more in-depth long-term missions becoming a gameplay opportunity in the new massive ground locations in 2024, Players who only want to run in the dropship crew on loot run missions will feel right at home in Star Citizen. The medic is not an incredibly fleshed out role, but it is an option. Right now, players can't save NPCs as a medic, though it won't be long. For now, players who want to be a medic will actually need to gear up and wait for medical beacons to pop up whenever a player goes down in combat. The problem with this system is players don't have any way of knowing whether the medic is actually coming or how long they may take. You can see their distance readout from where you are, but if their location is sitting still, are they AFK or did their character just glitch? A medic on approach from 30 million kilometers away could take a while, and by minute 20 of sitting there staring at the screen, a player may just force respawn, ruining everyone's time. Without a better interface, reputation system, and NPC medics as well as distressed civilians, there won't be enough content around this profession to flourish, at least from missions. And that's where the other form of medical gameplay comes in, the combat medic. In this role, you're combat aware, fighting alongside friends, but also expected to have a stash of med pens for all, specific drugs for certain injuries, and you need to be efficient at healing your crew up as you go with your medical tool. You're basically running the job of a trooper, but you've got other things to care about and equip yourself with. This role will probably become very popular with longer missions like data heist, consignment retrievals, and the raids I mentioned earlier coming soon. So here we are, the folks who actually enjoy flying ships. The interesting thing about you is you can be involved in just about anything. Mining, salvaging, FPS, cargo hauling, exploring, passenger transport, anything that players want to do in space. There needs to be a spaceship to take them there. You may be thinking everybody will be flying, this won't be necessary, but you've seen my video highlighting how many players don't actually want to fly. If you haven't, you can just control-click that link up there in the top right, we'll just watch it later. Piloting larger ships won't be a particularly new player-friendly activity. You'll need to pay attention to the cargo on your ship, how the mass is being displaced. You'll have to make calls on whether your ship is aerodynamic and tuned for atmospheric flight, or if it has VTOL thrusters that allow you to hover longer without heat damage. Where can your ship land? How long can it be in transit for? Does it have armor that can handle toxic atmosphere? All of these are aspects of ships planned for the future, both near and far, as well as the engineering gameplay that has some people running for the hills. As of right now, you'll need to consider things like cargo capacity and general space, but the role of a pilot, or more accurately a captain on larger ships, will be one that can take up all your time. One that many will pursue, and one that we'll have to wait and see how NPC crews and AI blades will affect. This role is a bit of a controversial one, as many believe they should be able to efficiently solo any ship in the game as long as NPCs can help. The ability for this to work will affect how players see the pay to get ahead aspect of Star Citizen, and is going to be a big topic of conversation as capital ships begin coming online this year. So while the pilot or navigator or captain role will be different in the future, I'm kinda combining them here, and we'll continue covering them more as the gameplay progresses and they keep growing apart. The turret gunner is a bit of a weird one, but when it comes to combat, this is a viable way to make a living. Many ships from dogfighters to capital ships have manned and remote turrets that you can link into for some sweet Star Wars callbacks.
I got him!
The experience over the years has come a long way. It still has a ways to go, but you can reliably take ships down during a fight, and it can be pretty exhilarating. Bounty hunting and combat beacon missions at the higher level can lead to gunners blowing up pirates and making plenty of money per hour without ever needing to fly a ship. If you really want to double down, you're also not limited to ships. Using ground-based mobile anti-air vehicles is a fun pastime of many in our org. Particularly during mixed-arm conflicts like Jumptown, it's easy to sit back and light up the sky in support of those above. It's not a common practice, but it is an option for those into group play and shooting things. Did I say the pilot role was controversial? Sorry, I meant the Outlaw, as CIG seems to refer to anything considered illegal gameplay. It's an umbrella term that refers to anything outside of the law. Duh. But this is more than you might think. Murder, sure, but drug smuggling, data hacking, mine claim jumping, extortion, and other not-so-friendly activities all fall under the Outlaw category. There's a sliding scale on illegality in Star Citizen. While right now you'll be awarded a crime stat for certain actions, misdemeanors are different from felonies, and different factions view crimes differently. So while you might get away with some activities in one star system, another could put a bounty on your head. The law of an outlaw, thus, is not easy. You won't be able to go to cities, space stations, or lawful ground locations very easily. You'll need to avoid bounty hunters and local security, and you'll have to maintain a safe place to regroup when you're not plundering, which will only get harder over time and might start driving you out towards systems like Pyro. But as a pirate, you also have the freedom to take from wherever you need. If you see a spaceship, you can disable and board it to steal what's on board in Star Citizen. It doesn't matter who's flying it. All the industrial professions we'll discuss in the next video are making millions of credits that could be yours if you plan well enough, and Star Citizen does provide the tools to do this. While the functionality still isn't quite there, being an outlaw, or more commonly referred to as a pirate, can be incredibly lucrative and incredibly fun in Star Citizen. Everything you do will be under a microscope, and most places will make major crime next to impossible for most solos, but the risk begets success, and pirates do have the opportunity to come out on top if they're smart. This is the kind of game that aims wide and somehow also tries to go deep. Some would say this is why it's taken so much money and time. Some would say this will lead to the game never being properly playable. Others are just here for the ride. But I hope this video has helped introduce you to the myriad of gameplay opportunities being designed and developed in real time as we're playing them, and for future mechanics we don't have yet. No matter where you come from, there is a chance Star Citizen aims to offer you something to try. Though it's worth acknowledging this game isn't for everyone. Especially at this current stage, it's riddled with bugs and most people should steer clear, but the ultimate vision of Star Citizen is one that leans into the sim genre. And for a lot of players, it might just feel like it takes too much time to do simple things. But this look into the more combat-focused opportunities that await you in Star Citizen has hopefully introduced you to some new possibilities in-game. Thank you to all my supporters who made this video possible, and thank you for watching this publicly if you are later on. I make regular exclusive videos for YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch supporters who directly make this channel possible, along with live podcasts, their code in our referral code randomizer, exclusive chat rooms, and more. If you'd like to support, you can join on YouTube down below. And if you're looking for more Star Citizen content, consider subscribing here or to my second channel for some podcasts, gameplay, and longer form stuff. I hope you learned something new in this video, and I'll catch you in the next.